Jasastu palam dukam agyanam tamasa palam. By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso loba evacha pramada moho tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, grief develops. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develop. Urdvam gachanti sattvasta adye tishtanti rajasaha jaghanya guna pritista ado gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. When you see, Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drastanu pashyati gunebhyascha parambeti madbhavam sodigacchati. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. Gunanitan atityatrin dehi deha sanmamritu jara dukher vimukto mritam ashnute. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Arjuna uvacha Kairlingastrin gunan etan atito bhavati prabho kimachara katam chaitams trin gunan ativartate. Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature? And this is the final one. Shri Bhagavan uvacha prakasham cha prakritim cha moham eva cha pandava na dveshti sampravritani na vritani kankshati udasina vadasino puneryo na vichalyate gunavartanta ityetam yo vishtati nengate samadukha sukha svasta Samalokashmakanchana Tulya priya priyodiras Tulya nindatma samstuti Manapamanayos tulyas Tulya mitraripakshayo Sarvaramba parityagi Gunatita sauchate. The Blessed Lord said, He who does not hate illumination, attachment and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear, who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, and looks on a clod, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So we'll go back to text 15. Thank you everyone for attending the class and listening and being eager and for letting me speak. If Maharaj has any comments at any time, we're very eager to hear. And so we'll try to speak some points on this text and purport. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when he dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Purport. Some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. This is incorrect. According to this verse, if one develops the mode of ignorance, after his death he is degraded to the animal form of life. From there, one has to again elevate himself by evolutionary process, and to come again to the human form of life. Therefore, those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness and in good association transcend the modes and become situated in Krishna consciousness. This is the aim of human life. Otherwise, there's no guarantee that the human being will again attain to the human status.
Because they don't have a clear understanding of the nature of the soul. Soul is completely transcendental from the body. It's the soul himself is part of God, and as God is pure, Satchidananda, so the individual soul is also. And he's not affected by the modes of material nature, even though he's acting within them. But therefore you hear things like animal souls, human souls, believer souls, non-believer souls, and these different theories, they do exist. I know one religion that believes in reincarnation, but they believe that once reaching the human stage, a soul doesn't become an animal or cannot fall down below that. But here we see Prabhupada or Krishna is stating very clearly that if one cultivates the mode of ignorance, for example, in the human form of life, if one lives like an animal, then he can take his next birth in that type of species. Because really there's no difference between the animals and the humans. The animals are interested in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and the humans are also similarly interested. The only difference is that the humans have dharma, or they're supposed to have dharma. They're supposed to follow the eternal dharma of serving Krishna. And if they don't, then they are no better really than animals, polished animals. And they won't have a difficult time going down to the animal kingdom because they've already developed that consciousness.
Thank you. Can I ask a question, or should I just speak on? I was wondering, what can we do to get out of then that state of being more like an animal than a human being?
Follow dharma. Therefore, Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parichaja, give up all duties or religions that you have concocted or that you think are correct. Someone says, even within the Varnashram system, someone says, I have Kshatriya Dharma, or I have Vaishya Dharma, or that may be, but still Krishna is saying beyond that, what to speak of dharmas like man-made dharmas, different rules and duties for this group or that group, this nation or that nation. Whatever you feel is your duty in this material world, you should give that up. And the best thing is just surrender to me and do what I say. So, in other words, Krishna and Arjuna were talking, and Arjuna was presenting Kshatriya Dharma as he understood it. And when he was speaking of Brahmana Dharma as being higher, why should we fight in this battle if we know that there's a higher principle? So he was presenting sannyas, dharma, and different dharmas. But everyone has a yoga or this idea, that idea. But Krishna is saying, ultimately, the highest principle is dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad pranitam, is to follow the instructions of Krishna. And that's the highest instruction. And we see in the activities of the gopis of Vrindavan, they gave up all dharmas, even the duties of a wife or a mother. In society, that's considered to be impure. But Krishna consciousness in its highest stage is beyond even the considerations of society or family or what have you. It's beyond all that. Because for Krishna's sake, one should be able to give up everything else. That's the highest dharma. And that's eternal. It doesn't depend on local or time and place. It's under all circumstances.
I was just wondering one more. I was just wondering one more part to this was if we how do we know if something that we're doing is for Krishna or is like a concocted dharma?
Before we have Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. That's the way to check. The Shastras are there, the scriptures. And then, in order to understand the scriptures, we should see the sadhus who follow. How do they follow the scriptures? Like, for example, the 6 Goswamis are glorified as acharyas or sadhus. And the guru, the spiritual master, comes in disciplic succession. So he's passing down his understanding. And that understanding should be the same understanding as Brahma heard from Krishna and as Narada heard from Brahma. That understanding is to be passed on. Just like Krishna says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Shashvatam Divyamadi Devam Bhajam Vibhum. Then he says, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, all the great personalities in the past have declared that you are the supreme, and you're declaring it now to me. So I accept that. That's how to follow in disciplic succession, parampara. And the guru, he's duty bound to represent that, not to present something different. So what the guru says, what the shastras say, and what the sadhus say and act, dharmam, what is that? There's a verse, Mahajano yena gata sapanta, that in the heart of the pure devotees, the Mahajans, one understands the real principles of religion. So therefore one should follow in that path.
This is really helpful. I don't know if this is on. Mic is on, but I don't know. Okay, thank you, Maharaj. This is really helpful. So I'll try to speak a little bit on the purport here and on this whole topic. Well, everything that's been being discussed is really helpful, so I don't want to go too far off the topic, but just some notes I had taken when I was reading the purport was specifically about this point of not understanding the evolution of life properly. So some people think that the human soul doesn't, or that there is a human soul, there's an animal soul, this soul, that soul, and this and that. But we understand what the proper type of evolution is from what is given in the Vedas. But in today's day and age, there's other theories given and misconceptions of how the living being is evolving, such as Darwin's theory, saying that everything comes from just chemicals. Or as part of this whole theory, I was just reading more about Srila Prabhupada speaking on Darwin's theory today. So Darwin is saying that the man comes from monkeys. So at some point, a monkey gave birth to a human being. And Prabhupada was asking, where do we ever see that a human being comes from a monkey or is born of a monkey? Has anyone seen it? Everyone that Prabhupada was asking in that conversation said, no, I don't think anyone here has either, on any video, documentary, or just in real life. No one ever sees a human being come from a monkey. But Darwin says that sometimes it happens. But we can see that nature doesn't just work on sometimes. Nature's always symmetrical. The sun is rising at a precise time every day, same exact time. The seasons, we know, okay, it's cold now in January. So next year in January, it's also going to be cold. Nature's always working symmetrically like this. We see a fish gives birth to a fish, a human gives birth to a human. But he is saying in this theory that sometimes it happens. Sometimes, so just believe me. But why do we have to believe Darwin? He just makes it up. Sometimes it happens, so believe me, but that's actually nonsense, because he's just making that up and saying, believe me. But we can see that never happens. So with his theory, Prabhupada phrased it something similar to this, that Darwin's pretty much stating that we're supposed to believe that nature revealed this thing to him of a monkey coming from a human, even though no one else has ever seen it, but supposedly nature revealed it to him, and we just take it on faith that somewhere at some point a monkey gave birth to a human. And when Prabhupada was asking, how does he say this happened? The people he was speaking with were saying that Darwin says that it happened by chance. By chance, a monkey or ape or something like this gave birth to a human. But this is actually a really nice point that was made in this conversation, was that actually by him saying it happens by chance, then we know that it's all a bluff. It's just an evasive tactic. If you think about this word chance, it means that he has no knowledge. Because chance means it happened by some inexplicable cause. So chance means I don't know. So we can see this isn't a proper theory on the evolution of human life. And also this main theory that's accepted now today, when that same person was asked about what is the source of everything and what is the absolute truth or God, he says that he's agnostic. So I don't believe that anybody can know. So if he doesn't believe that anybody can know, then why is he giving so many theories? What's the point of even speaking all these things? So that's not the actual fact. The real thing is that the evolution of the soul is changing from body to body, just like an apartment. So there's a first-class apartment, second-class apartment, third-class apartment, and they're already there, made by material nature. It's already, the arrangement is already there for all different types of bodies. And then based on what the living entity can pay, they can go into the different apartments. So based on the karma and the desire of the soul, they can go into these different bodies and move up by this evolutionary process from animal life to a higher animal to human being, even to a demigod or whatever. But no matter what type of apartment or what type of body one gets in the material world, ultimately they'll have to stay here, which Krishna describes as it's a place of misery and suffering, dukhalayam ashashvatam. So in order to get out of this changing apartments, like Maharaj was saying, we have to surrender to Krishna. And so we can know how to do that by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, following the path of the Mahajans. Then we can actually get out of this changing body situation. So we can read a little bit more of some of these texts and purports. There's limited time, so I'll just choose specific ones. So text 18, or I'll read through the text and then the text 18's purport. By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. Text 17. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, grief develops. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develop. 18. There's actually a lot of good purports, but it seems like we all listen better when the speaker is speaking instead of reading. Okay, a little bit of 17. Since the present civilization is not very congenial to the living entities, Krishna consciousness is recommended. Through Krishna consciousness, society will develop the mode of goodness. When the mode of goodness is developed, people will see things as they are. In the mode of ignorance, people are just like animals and cannot see things clearly. In the mode of ignorance, for example, they do not see that by killing one animal, they are taking a chance of being killed by the same animal in the next life. Because people have no education and actual knowledge, they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober, in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. This is very helpful. There's a nice point that really defines the mode of ignorance also in this paragraph. One engaged in the mode of passion is not only mentally unhappy, but his profession and occupation are also very troublesome. He has to devise so many plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. But actually, sorry, I'll make a comment on that. Actually, this whole thing of someone in the mode of passion, he has to devise plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. That actually doesn't work. Because if we read in the Vedas and specifically one of Prabhupada's purports, I remember reading, if one doesn't engage their money in Krishna's service, that excess of wealth that's not being engaged in the Lord's service is actually squandered in all sorts of ways, like taxes, medical bills. It's just uselessly wasted. Just like if one doesn't use their knowledge for Krishna, what does Krishna call them? Maya apahrita jnana. Their intelligence is stolen by Maya. So whatever's not used for Krishna's service, it ultimately just gets very uselessly diminished by the material energy in a frustrating way. So one's money, if they don't use it in the Lord's service, it's squandered for so many things. And Prabhupada says, we have recently seen an example of this. One who didn't want to buy a Back to Godhead magazine, he spent $2,500 for medication, a week's worth of medication, and then died. So the money's squandered. And then he said another example, just recently, one person didn't want to give 1 penny to support Krishna consciousness, and they ended up having to pay $3,500 in, what's it called? Court stuff? Legal bills. So if it's not, use it or lose it. If it's not used in Krishna's service, it'll be lost to Maya, his inferior energy. Because we're always serving something. So we can desire, do I want to serve Krishna or do I want to serve Maya, his external inferior energy? And we're reading about the gunas. So guna means rope. So one might think that he's independent and he can do so many types of things and gain so many nice results and try to enjoy them. But actually, by these gunas, he's bound by the feet and hands and neck and pulled along to be addicted to so many material activities, whether he likes it or not. So to get free from the gunas, one just engages in Krishna consciousness and it automatically happens. Speaking of the gunas, this is continuing the end of the purport in text 17. This is all miserable. In the mode of ignorance, people become mad. Being distressed by their circumstances, they take shelter of intoxication, and thus they sink further into ignorance, and their future in life is very dark. It's really hard to choose like how much to read and how much not to read because there's so much good purports. But to speak a little bit on this end of 17, and we'll see more about it in the next two purports as well. Actually, sorry, I'll read a little bit more of those two texts. Text 18, those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Purport. In this verse, the results of actions in the three modes of nature are more explicitly set forth. There is an upper planetary system consisting of heavenly planets where everyone is highly elevated. According to the degree of development of the mode of goodness, the living entity can be transferred to various planets in this system. The highest planet is, or where the prime person of this universe, Lord Brahma, resides. We have seen already that we can hardly calculate the wondrous condition of life in Brahmaloka, but the highest condition of life, the mode of goodness, can bring us to this. The mode of passion is mixed. It is in the middle, between the modes of goodness and ignorance. A person is not always pure, but even if he should be purely in the mode of passion, he will simply remain on this earth as a king or a rich man. But because there are mixtures, one can also go down. People on this earth in the modes of passion or ignorance cannot forcibly approach the higher planets by machine. In the mode of passion, there's also the chance of becoming mad in the next life. In the lowest quality, the mode of ignorance is described here as abominable. The result of developing ignorance is very, very risky. It is the lowest quality in material nature. Beneath the human level, there are 8 million species of life, birds, beasts, reptiles, trees, etc. And according to the development of the mode of ignorance, people are brought down to these abominable conditions. The word tamasa is very significant here. Tamasa indicates those who stay continually in the mode of ignorance without rising to a higher mode. Their future is very dark. There is opportunity for men in the modes of ignorance and passion to be elevated to the mode of goodness, and that system is called Krishna consciousness. But one who does not take advantage of this opportunity certainly will continue in the lower modes. And very soon, we'll hear about transcending these modes in the next purport. But to continue on this topic that is spoken of in this purport here, Maharaj has a very nice article in Vaishnava Society, issue number 3. The article is called Sports Gamble. I got to read it for a project that we were working on. So there's a really nice letters from Prabhupada that are quoted in there. And I thought they're helpful for getting out of like the mode of ignorance, and they kind of like set the standard, which I felt was really helpful. So this one, Srila Prabhupada explains that one must, it kind of goes along with this purport. Srila Prabhupada explains that one must first become a pure devotee, then preach. Here's the quote. You have asked me what are the formalities that you have to observe for recruiting Krishna devotees in India. And the first principle is that you have to become a pure devotee of the Lord. Then you can attempt to convert others to become devotees. The formalities are as follows. You should take a vow not to have any illicit sex life. That means sex life should be accepted only by married couples. You should not take anything beyond the group of grains, fruits, vegetables, flowers, milk, and milk products, and that also only after offering to Lord Krishna. You should not accept any kind of intoxication, including drinking coffee, tea, or smoking cigarettes, chewing pan, etc. Finally, you should not take part in any gambling, including so-called sports, cinema, theater, or any such entertainment. Then you will have to be first initiated for chanting the Hare Krishna mantra under regulative principles, avoiding 10 kinds of offenses, and following the above regulative principles. So, one quote from Maharaj, he was speaking on that quote from Prabhupada that just sets it all very nicely into perspective. Maharaj was saying, meticulous to each detail, Srila Prabhupada knew he was transplanting Vaishnava tenets into Kali's garden. there could be no ambiguity, for these tenets were to grow for another 9,500 years. If Mr. Kerr had responded that he was interested in becoming initiated, but was unwilling to give up illicit sex, pawn, tea, or idle sports, his proposal would be denied. The reason is that one who takes initiation into the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya declares his or her solemn intention to become a pure devotee. Pure devotees, or aspiring pure devotees, set their sights on going back home, back to Godhead. So I was reading that because Prabhupada is saying that these things are the like the first steps in engaging in Krishna consciousness. They're the very preliminary things that somebody has to do. So there's no leeway in any of them or room for adjusting it. Oh, maybe sometimes I hear devotees say there's people who do, instead of being on a 16.4 program, maybe they're on a 16.3 or a 16.2. But we know there's 16 rounds to chant of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and there's 4 regulative principles, and those 4 regulative principles are actually divine principles that will save me from all anxiety. So there's no leeway for any of these things because they're keeping us from being completely bound to these material ropes or gunas that will just drag us along in the material world to be addicted to all sorts of abominable activities, and then you don't know where you're going to go. If it's very bad, then you go down. It's somewhat pious, you go up and then down again. And so Srila Prabhupada is setting the standard over and over again very clearly that these things are the preliminary activities that one has to do to engage in Krishna consciousness properly without extreme risk of falling into a bad situation. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. Purport. One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the modes of material nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes, but when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. Therefore, one who is able to see things as they are, Therefore, for one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. So the best way to get out of this material nature, which is very scary because it is a person, as we know, everything has some person doing it, just like nature. Whose nature? Or people say nature is like a machine, so who's operating the machine? Ultimately, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the personality specifically behind nature is very fearsome. It's a trident with 3 spokes to inflict different miseries on living entities. So to get out of this material nature, which is very fearful, we associate with devotees. And it's the sweetest thing. It's also, it's challenging at times too. Sometimes it's like hot sugar cane juice. It burns, but you want to keep drinking it because it's so sweet. So it's a very nice and blissful process. And this is just a little minute clip because I asked about how we can become more absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's books and live by them, because they're very amazing. So why would we not want to be at least a spectator on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and see what's going on? So we were in LA and I asked this question to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Swami, and his answer was really nice. So I just wanted to play it. It's just like 2 minutes. Do I have permission? Okay.
In order to get more and more absorbed in Prabhupada's books and actually living the life, living them, I feel that association with devotees is extremely important, especially advanced devotees. And when we're associating with devotees, it means performing devotional activities with them, especially hearing and chanting, like attending the morning program and doing kirtan with them and dancing in the kirtan and chanting japa with them, hearing the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. These are all activities. And devotees like Lord Chaitanya, he did these activities. Lord Chaitanya would engage in Ratha Yatra, he would go on Harinam Sankirtan, he would chant and dance in the house of Srivas Thakur all night long and all day long, and he would sit with Swarup Damodar and read Bhagavatam. He would sit with Gadadhar Pandit and read Bhagavatam 3 hours every day and discuss Bhagavatam. So when we do these kinds of activities with advanced devotees, we feel like, wow, we're living in Chaitanya Leela. It's like, it becomes that kind of experience. So this is just a few thoughts that
So I thought that was really helpful. And there was one part that was embarrassing at the end where I wanted to play it too, but to make it quicker. This devotee gave an answer about becoming more absorbed in Prabhupada's books. And then Sri Krishna Chaitanya Swami said, how can you measure absorption? And then he asked me to answer. And I said, and it just sounds so, I like squeaked the answer. By the amount of time that you're engaged in devotional activities as opposed to non-devotional activities. And he just looked like he totally knew like where I was at. And he just said, the amount of time we're engaged in Krishna consciousness and not Maya consciousness. So I thought that was very helpful. So are there any questions or comments? Yes, Bhakti Jio Prabhu.
You were speaking about evolution a little bit ago, and you were saying that the scientists say that humans came from monkeys, and so I just had a question. So when the scientists say that humans come from monkeys, usually what they mean is that humans gradually changed from a monkey through survival of the fittest. So what do we say to combat this?
So they're saying that the monkey evolved into a human being. Survival of the fittest. So that would mean that which one survives? Yeah, the fittest. So how come I'm still seeing both the monkeys, the lower thing and the higher thing that it supposedly evolved into? So this doesn't actually hold up. I see the human and the monkey, but they're saying that the monkey eventually gradually changed into a human because he was more adept. We see them both. Yes, Shaikeshwara Prabhu.
Hey, well, I just had a comment on that one because the scientists, they say that it's different families, we evolved differently. It's a diverging like branch but the only proof that they rely on is like paleontology or the study of fossils, and so they're relying on fossil proof that we eventually went from one step to the other, but they still haven't found this quote unquote missing link to prove that this gradual evolution happened. So it's like an unanswered question on their part.
Yes, we
And
also
so
say
they can keep trying and trying and trying for many thousands of years or however what it takes to figure this out. And, we can keep chanting Hare Krishna.
we also say that there's a branch, that there's living entities are stemming like in branches, and that the trunk or the source or the root of it is Krishna. He's the Supreme Father, and everything is coming from him. But then with their theory, they're saying the man is coming from a monkey, but there's a missing link. Like you said, we're looking at the fossils and there's a missing link. So what is that? There's a missing, yes, there is a missing link in your theory. There's a missing link, but believe us, this is the fact. No, why would we believe that? There's no missing link in Bhagavad Gita or any of the books that Srila Prabhupada is translating or putting purports on, or any of the Vedas. I'll go, he raised his hand first. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Just some appreciation. I like when you said in relation to this about nature, I never thought about this of like the sun is rising and setting, every day. The moon is rising, setting, and like how you said, a fish is reproducing a fish or giving birth to a fish, a human is giving birth to a human. So yeah, nature is very precise, and we can direct people towards that and remind them it's not by chance. And then I also liked how you just shared how everything we're doing here every day, if we're in the right consciousness, we're actually doing what Lord Chaitanya would do with his closest friends. It's amazing. Like I haven't thought of that. So it's really nice. I wish I could appreciate what we do here more. So anyways, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Jai, thank you. Dr. Fred Prabhu? Okay. You're gonna miss yours.
Just a point on nature. If there's 100 snakes that are born, in the same, however snakes are born, yeah, the strong are going to survive because it's nature's law. There's not enough room for all these snakes. We recognize this. But what the scientists are not recognizing is that this is not just chance, that there's a brain behind this happening. This is one of the points that Prabhupada makes in the Darwin chapter of dialectic spiritualism. And there's a really nice purport. There's somebody here who's asked me a whole lot of times that, like, how do we get free from the modes of material nature? And Prabhupada does it nicely in text 22 and 20 through 25 purport. It's really nice.
Maybe we can read the purport in the next. Stay tuned. How to get free from the modes of nature? Yes, Rachandev Prabhu.
Yeah, so to go along with what we're reading in Bhagavad Gita right now, Prabhupada says basically fools, right? They don't question, right? So the current information about evolution and the incomplete information about the universe, all of this is in the mode of ignorance because it's not real information, not real knowledge. It's according to speculative knowledge. So Prabhupada said, because they're rascals, right? And this Darwinian evolution theory, right? So they are rascals. So everyone else, because they're rascals, they don't ask, they don't question, right? So it develops a specific consciousness or the conceptions of life. And according to these specific conceptions of life that are basically not true, they're in the mode of ignorance, not real. That's carrying us again into animal species, like Maharaj was mentioning.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.